Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. I haven't really spoken to you guys on my channel lately. I took a pretty long break, but I'm hoping to get back into it now. And I'm going to be doing a pack tutorial today. So today I'm going to be making a sword, 256X, which is something that not a lot of tutorials have covered. Many of them have done like lower res swords. So I wanted to do one that was higher res so I can show you guys how to make something like that and how to use the tools with more pixels, if that makes any sense. I know my channel isn't doing as well as it was before, but hopefully I will be able to keep uploading and get it back to how it was. But anyways guys, hope you enjoyed the video today, and let's get into it. So what we're gonna do first is file new, and we're gonna make a 256x by 256x template. So we're going to Control A and delete it all, so now it is PNG format. What I usually do is I take the sword off by hand, but right now I'm just going to open up a picture from a sword that I used before and use this as the template for just the proportions. So what I usually do is I put the sword on a new layer, so layer, add new layer, Control V, and then I drag this below the background, and then I click adjustments, brightness, and I bring it all the way up. So now I can work on my background layer, and then like I can draw stuff out in here, and then I can just deselect the back layer, and I'll have the sword that I'm working on by itself. What you want to do with the high res sword is I usually start with the handle. So I'll like start like in the center here. I'll usually make a V shape kind of, but what you generally want to do is just start by making the first blade guard, and then this like this. That was kind of cool. Then bring that down. That was kind of cool. So we can like make this a little bit more pointed at the end with the pencil tool. And before that, by the way, I was using the line tool to make all of these. There we go. So now, like I said, if we deselect the other sword in the back here, we just have the thing that I just made. So what you want to do now is that you have one side of the blade guard done. You're going to want to Control A, Control C, Control N, click OK, and then Control V. Here we're going to do image, flip horizontal, image, rotate 90 degrees, and then you're going to do Control A, Control C, go back to what you were working on, add a new layer, and Control V. And then go back to my background layer. If I have something on the background layer, it won't work if I erase it on layer 3. You're going to have to go to that layer to erase what's on it. Fill in that little point there. And I think I made a pretty good handle here. So at this point, I know the proportions. If you guys want to keep the back sword there, that's your choice. But like I know what I'm going to be playing around with now. So I'm actually just going to deselect that and work off just freehand. So now I'm going to compress these two layers together by pressing this button here, and then I'm going to add a new layer and start working on the blade. So I'm going to make the outline of the blade. I usually like to bring the thickness of the line a bit lower, so around 4 works for 256X. And then I'll drag this up here. That should be good. There we go. So it's even. Bring this back up to 4, and you have your blade. What we're going to do now is work on the handle. So what I usually like to do for the handle is I will select part of the blade. So since we're on the blade layer right now, see this is layer 3. That's for the blade. I'm going to select part of it, Control C, add a new layer, and paste it. Drag this down here. Keep it at the same level as the blade, and that should be fine like that. From here, what I usually do is I will cut away most of this and just make this part of the handle just like the top part. Now that I have that, I will go back to my thickness of 5 and bring these two down like this. And then again, I can check if it's even just by doing this. And it's even because this point matches up with this point. Put an extra line here and there, and there's the first part of your handle. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring this back up to 5 and start on the next part of my handle. I usually like to put this on yet another layer. So here we can do something like this. Maybe bring this in a bit. A little bit farther down. Bring this down a bit. You can bring this like this. And that'll be the second part of your handle. Since you did that on one layer, you can Control A, C, Control N, and Control V. This is the exact same thing you did for when you were doing the blade guard. There you have most of your handle. We're not quite done yet. You can compress these two layers down, so now you have that whole part on one layer. And here, what we can do is finish up the handle by putting a hilt on the end. So what I like to do here, since this is more of a pointy-ish sword, I guess you can call it, I'll put a diamond on the end. Fill these in here, and there you go. You have your handle and you have your sword. Almost. This is just the outline. So now we're just going to texture it. At this point, I usually select the back sword again, just to line everything up. And right now, I can just compress everything down together to make one sword. So now we have one layer with the sword we just made, and the layer with the sword that I was using for the proportions. So I'm going to bring the sword down just a little bit because I see it's a little off proportion. And then now the blade, I can see that it's kind of short. So I will select the top part of it, Control C, Control V, and drag it up a bit. Since it's kind of a skinny blade, it's going to look tall in game, so that should be fine. Now that you have the outline, you can add cool textures, like maybe adding an extra line here, and an extra line there. You can even do something like this, selecting one of the blade guard sides, and then Control C, V, maybe bring this up by like 3 or 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then doing the same to the other side. Control C, V, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can add a little bit more texture to the sword itself. So here we're going to start coloring everything in and texturing it. I usually start with the blade, and I select the color that I'm going to use to fill, stylize, in effects, outline, bring the intensity up, and the thickness should be fine there, and then fill those in like that, usually right click and left click. Here we can just do a selection here and drag this around with shift and right click. Bring this down to like here. I usually enable this, bring this up, and then I'll do adjustments, hue and saturation, and bring the lightness down. So now we have a little bit of a cool effect on the sword, and then just shade it like this. I like to leave a lot of dark space on the side just because it'll look much nicer in game. If it is a little too dark, I'll click adjustments, curves, and bring this up a bit, but that should be fine. Now we're going to work on the handle. So what I like to do is I'll select everything by clicking shift and left click, and then deselecting the outside by clicking control and right click. And now I'll pick 2 colors of gray. I'll also outline this. Oops. Like that. Here I will fill in what I like. Click, which will fill in all of the edges. Maybe a bit darker. There. So now I'm going to go around all of the points and fill these in like this with the pencil tool. And there is your handle. So here I'll probably just shade everything at this point. I'll do the same thing with the gradient tool. You can add a relief, which is a pretty cool effect. You can play around with that, or you can add emboss. This defaults to grayscale, so you might want to do it on another layer. But anyways, guys, that's more for another video. Much more complex texturing. Right now, I just want to do something basic. Maybe I will introduce new textures and new ways of texturing in a future tutorial. But right now, this is what I'm going to leave you guys with. Other swords that I've made look like this, which I was talking about with the relief. I play around a lot with these effects. But right now, this is the basic sword that a beginner texture pack maker is going to want to make. And for a high-res sword, I think this tutorial is going to help you out a lot. So give me a second. I'm going to enable this on a texture pack, and you guys see it in game. Alright, so here's the sword in game. I enchanted it, unenchanted one as well. As you can see, it looks pretty nice, being 256X. It really lets you see all the texturing in much more detail. So here it is, guys. I hope you did enjoy the video today. And for more tutorials, if you want me to continue doing them, let me know down below. They do take a lot longer to record and upload, but they're easier to edit, if that makes any sense. If you guys enjoyed the video today, I'm going to leave the sword link down below. If you're watching this and you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.